Calling to order this meeting of the 23rd of September of the Community Redevelopment Agency, the CRA. Roll call, please, Madam Clerk.
Chair Rich.
Here.
Board Member Clark.
Present.
Board Member Collins.
Here.
Board Member Giobbi.
Here.
Board Member Reed.
Here.
Board Member Campani.
Here.
Board Member Breckbill.
Here.
Let's stand for the Pledge of Allegiance, please. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I have to say it right. That's how I was taught.
Can I get a motion for the approval of the agenda?
So moved. Second.
We have a motion for approval of the agenda by Board Member Campani and a second by Board Member Clark. All in favor?
Aye.
A motion for the approval of minutes?
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion for the approval of the minutes by Board Member Campani, second by Board Member Clark. All in favor?
It's fine.
Breckbill? Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Do we have any comments from the public on non-agenda related items? Mary, do we? Okay.
We have Jordan Show.
Good afternoon. Thanks for having me. My name is Jordan Show, 918 Madison Avenue, Stuart, Florida, and I'm here to speak on behalf of a skate park at Guy Davis Park in Stuart. This weekend we had an event in East Stuart supported by a bunch of different people. This was a skateboarding event that was supported by the NAACP, a large portion of the legal community, doctors, ministers, businesses, restaurants, law enforcement, both Stuart PD and MCSO. On Saturday, we gave out thousands of wings, skateboards, and had an afternoon where kids and grown-ups got off their phones and became a community. Kids and teens had positive interactions with law enforcement. I'm a criminal defense lawyer. I've been all over the county and the state representing people who are charged with crimes. And in that, I've seen a lot of where lives turn to darkness. And let me just say that from my experience, I've learned both kids and adults need something to do, something positive to do. Now recently, and indeed this weekend, I found that there's tons of ministers, mentors, educators, and organizations looking for a place to do their work. A skate park would be that place. Practically speaking, a skate park would be available for all kids in East Stuart. It'd be walkable, it'd be accessible. Skateboarding doesn't cost a lot of money to buy in. All it takes is a skate park, and my not-for-profit will provide those to kids in the neighborhood. You don't need a coach, you don't need an organization, so kids from single-mother households can thrive. Kids and adults from other areas of Martin County will come, and it's good for the broader community. This is an opportunity for the city. It's an opportunity to build a piece of concrete that's more than the sum of all its parts. It's a place to build a foundation on which we can be a community. Some of the groups that are wanting to be involved in this, we've got FCA. I've spoken to people with Boys and Girls Club, people with law enforcement. Again, the list goes on and on. Different churches, the NAACP, all these groups want to get involved, but we need this place, and we need it now because kids are slipping away out there. Every year another generation goes by that doesn't have these things, and they need them. They need mentorship. So what I'm asking for, I've done the research. I've spoken to one company, Spawn Ranch. It's world class. They ballparked us at $500,000 for a skate park. That is a drop in the bucket for what we're going to earn from it, which is a legacy, and it's a place for kids to thrive both mentally and physically. And who knows, we may even have Olympic athletes coming from this very place. We have some other people here who are present to support, and I know everybody can't make a public comment, but anyone who's here for the skate park, please raise your hands. Thank you so much. And I have more materials if you guys need it.
Thank you.
I'm sorry, could I just ask you one question to clarify? You said your nonprofit would pay for the park, or did you mean to say you would buy skateboards?
So skateboards.
Okay.
Just to clarify on the park, pretty much everyone I've gone to who says, who I've asked for money to actually build the park, they say, look, that's going to take away from the other not-for-profits in the area, and this is something that we believe the city should do.
No, I just wanted to make sure I understood. You meant,
That's a good clarification. I appreciate. Any other questions that I'm?
Yes.
Yes, ma'am.
yep.
Thank you.
Board Member
You mentioned
Gilby.
a mentoring program. Would that be your organization, or you're looking for mentors, or?
Well, so one organization that I'm very impressed with that wants to be involved deeply is FCA, and I think they may have sent you guys emails today to that end. They've been looking to get an action sports FCA group for years, and they haven't been able to do it. This opportunity at the events that we've had, they've said, wow, if we could just do this, it would be fantastic. So that's one of the groups, and I know many of the other groups out there would also benefit from this and have just a great place for people to come together. And
So let me
certainly,
clarify. So this group, for instance, would do a mentoring program.
yes,
Oh, okay.
yes. Well, the group that I have, I think we would be focused more on providing the utility, the skateboards, and arranging for events for these ministries and these different organizations to come together with the already existing professional mentors and people of that nature.
Well, that's what I'm trying to get at. Who are those mentors? You're mentioning that there are people who would like to mentor. You're really just providing the skateboards and a venue.
So the
for-
people would be coaches, like coaches of the local lacrosse team. There's teachers, there's educators who would like to be involved and do these very things. I had a vice principal who was at our event this weekend who was saying, my gosh, if I could just have a place, because it costs a lot of money and it's really hard to put these events together. I've got 3 kids and I got a lot of extracurricular activities, so this is, it's not something I can be, reliably doing every, couple months or something like
So
that.
are you are the non-for-profit. So I guess that's what I'm trying to get at. You mentioned mentoring, which would be great for this program. not
Yes.
Just having the skating, but mentors for these young children to have. I'm trying to find out who would do that mentoring. Would you be
Commissioner
cool-
Joby, if I could just, we're
Sorry.
really not supposed to engage with
I'm sorry.
these speakers at this point, at this length. If it's an issue we want to go into further detail, we can do that if you want to clarify in your commissioner comments.
that's okay.
I just didn't want him to be on the hook to pay for the
No,
park.
and I can answer that specific
But
question.
she,
Oh, sorry, sir.
Just quickly for clarification for the new commissioners, Jordan Show's been at this for some time, trying to get a skate park over there. I was at the event this weekend, and in our conversations, one of the things that came up is that the city actually just got a grant for about $500,000 from the state specifically for Guy Davis. So in our conversations, I said,
so obviously we can bring this back up for specific discussion at a later point. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
I'll speak more in my commissioner comments. Sure.
Thank you. Pleasure.
Thank you.
Next.
Our next speaker is Jimmy Smith.
City Commission. Hey, I'm Jimmy Smith, a longtime resident of Stuart, Martin County, since 1961. I almost better say that part, but anyway, I'm here on the support of that park, the Guy Davis Park with the skateboard. I mean, if you really look at how much it would do for our city or Stuart community, it really brought diverse. That park belonged to all us, no matter whether it's East Stuart or outside of there. But what it would do, it would bring in people that would be able to interact together with love. And this weekend, that skate park, and I was just able to see the people, how they interact. They didn't look at race. Kids didn't look at because of what color they were. They was just doing things together, and they was having fun, and the parents were just enjoying themselves. And man, thank you, Commissioner Collins, for being there. It just brightened up the whole town. The law officers was there interacting with the kids. It was just so amazing to see that the pastors, the people that was ministering, if you really just can feel what it would bring to East Stuart. We at a time now that we all should be united. We got to come together with love so we can put our arms around our kids. These kids need to know that there's more than just basketball and football is a way to make a living, play baseball. You got all these other activities out here. You got lacrosse. You got all these. We have to provide these so they can have hope. I was a kid that played football when it first began back in the Little League. And I found out I wasn't that kind of material, all right? I broke my ankle playing middle linebacker. So you know, when you look at this, I played basketball, and I wasn't tall enough back then. I just only grew a couple inches after I left high school. And then the only thing I ever found that I was a wrestler at Martin County High. You know, and I was a great wrestler. So, you know, there's so much other stuff that we have to offer these kids. And I believe with you all, and I know I can look up here and see these faces. I see all the love and compassion that you have for the city of Stuart. And city of Stuart belongs to Martin County, because we all have a part of what the city becoming great. So I just trust that you all will continue to work hard towards this park. Everybody is waiting on this park. This water splash park come out the ground like over in Indian Riverside Park. So let's move and let's get it done. And I'm quite sure everybody that listen, I think it's going to be great for all of us. Thank you very much.
Mr. Chair, don't we have this in our budget?
Yes.
No, so the discussion back in 2023, when Jordan came out to the meeting, city commission meeting, that we would appropriate space for the skate park, but they were supposed to raise funding for the improvements for the skate park.
So now they want the city to fund the building of the skate park.
Correct. So I will bring forward the actual cost of the projects. At that time, we can discuss if this is something you want to add to the scope.
Okay, thank you.
Mary?
Bernadette Lindell. Oh, are you speaking on item number 2? Yes. I apologize. That'll be coming up. This will be Olga Hamilton.
Good afternoon. Yesterday evening, I think, I sent an email. But we are not on agenda. Probably you didn't look at the email yet with our estimates and everything on our Olga Hamilton, 311 Southwest 3rd Street, Stuart, Florida, CDBG Housing Rehabilitation Program applicants. So you're already familiar with our situation. Our situation is much more worse than even you can imagine, because every local contractor who stopped at our place, they right now have to consult with their insurance companies if they can take on the job. That's how extensive damages are. Here's another document, and pretty much funny document to me, because that sounds funny. When the contractor Patriot Response Group acknowledged this document and sign it, it states the bid estimates must be based on the work write-up provided by the city. I would like to ask, who here in the city did write-up on the work? Someone did and put the roof ridge vent that was not installed, but it was faked. But the most concerning part, it's a web of lies. When we homeowners started to inspect building permits file, we discovered it and compared it with the emails and messages that we preserved. It's lies after lies after lies by Patriot Response Group and, unfortunately, by Guardian Community Resource Management. When we ask them specifically, do you have any permission or any plans submitted to the building, to the Stuart Building Department to cut our walls to install oversized windows? And here I have these messages from Antonio, Mr. Jenkins. Yes, we have plans, and building department gave permissions. Building department had no idea that they were installing oversized windows, and they destroyed our rough openings and compromised our structures. on August 4th. Okay.
Thank you.
But pretty much you can read it in my email. And I urge you, go to the East Stuart and not listen on the phones. Talk to people there about their situation, please.
Madam
David
Clerk?
Adverse.
Who is it? I'm sorry.
David Adverse.
Letting me speak on behalf of Olga and Robert and the Stuart Church of Art. I've had the pleasure of professionally and personally...
Sir, could you identify yourself and state your
I'm so
address?
sorry, sir. Yes. David Aversa, 3247 Southeast Montana Street, Florida, 349.
Thank you.
Thank you for reminding me. So it's been a pleasure for over a decade being friends both professionally through your litigation support services and as a friend. I spent many fine afternoons at the Stuart Church of Art. What I've witnessed is their absolute love for that building. You know, it's I think 1895 it was built. It's one of the few privately owned historic buildings in the county. And I've witnessed the violation that they've suffered, both to the church itself. It's been mutilated by Patriot. There's been, I'd like to say, negligent oversight by Guardian. I would hate to think that these acts were intentional or fraudulent, but I've witnessed this firsthand, and I've seen the impact on them personally. They've been living since May in a building with no windows, no air conditioning, a historic building that's kind of delicate to begin with. So they have bugs and lizards and no air conditioning. The place has got to be riddled with mold. And my question to the city, who holds the money from this federal grant, is who has contacted Patriot and/or Guardian's liability insurance carriers for their obvious gross negligence? These people have suffered damages professionally, personally, and this federal money is not being spent the way it was supposed to, which is to preserve this cherished building. So when it comes to who's going to pick up the slack for the negligent actions, and I hope not intentional fraudulent actions, it's going to be an insurance company. Why should the federal money be being spent for something that it wasn't intended for? Taxpayers' money should be spent for what it's intended for. So I hope that somebody takes this a step further and looks into the aspect of who can pay for these damages that have been caused by the actions of Patriot and Guardian. There was mention of the city's possible a little bit derelict supervision of everything, but the true responsibility lies with the people that made the mistakes that affected these people and their building. So I hope that they can, whoever would do it, take it a step further and notify those insurance companies, and let's see what they have to say about correcting this. Because if they have the coverage, and I would assume that both entities, Guardian and Patriot, had to file certificates of liability insurance to get the contracts, it should be a simple letter. You know, a simple letter, hey, insurance company, this is what's going on, what's your position on rectifying the damages?
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Mr. Martell?
Just wanted to bring the board up to speed. We have obviously spoken about this in past meetings. The city of Stuart has been speaking with the involved parties, and they have offered to hire and pay for a contractor at the homeowner's expense to replace the windows and make sure that it was all paid up to the total amount that they were awarded in their grant application, and replace all of those windows. If in fact there's a dispute between the homeowner and the contractor, that's a civil action that the city wouldn't have anything to do with. The dispute arises now with the additional cost because there's about $20,000 or $27,000 because the windows that were there had to be taken out and new windows have to be put in, and the homeowners don't want the Guardian to spend the $27,000 on the new windows. They want something else to happen. So it's kind of at a standstill, but there's no doubt that the CDBG grant funding has offered to let them hire their own contractor and will come in and pay for those windows to be replaced by their contractor's design, I imagine is what it is. I've spoken to the homeowners. We have not contacted any insurance companies, though.
Mr. Chairman, can I ask Manager Mortel a question, please?
Board Member Breckbill.
Yes. Thank you. What is our actual role in this whole process? What do we actually do? What's our whole
As
purpose?
the municipality, we are actually just the connector, or we apply for the city municipality for the CDBG funds, and then we advertise it through the CRA, and then we verify that people are residents of the CRA, and then they can come in. You have to be over a certain age and meet certain criteria, but then you apply for these grant funds and you get awarded a certain amount of money. And in this particular case, they could pick from different contractors that were on the list. We don't pick the contractors. We don't do any of it. We just are literally the catalyst between it. Obviously, the building is done in the city, so our building inspector goes out and inspects it, but it's not related to the CDBG, and it's not like we're even the actual bank providing the financing. We are literally more like a holding company that the money passes through us, or we assist with it, but we don't actually provide the funding. And in this particular instance, I know Ms. Gandhi Savdas has spent more time than she probably wants on the phone with them, but we have been dealing with them quite a bit to try and rectify it. And it was my understanding that they had, in fact, offered to hire the contractor of their choosing to replace those windows.
Mr. Martell, do we exercise any supervisory control over the contractors?
Zero. Yeah, we don't get to pick who they are. We don't get to pick who's on the list. We don't get to pick who's not on the list. We don't get to influence the people that are picking the contractors by telling them yes or no who this is one way or the other. We have absolutely no relationship to it at all. We don't get to prepare the form that the contractors would fill out to get on the list.
Thank you.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes.
I just want,
Clerk.
I just want to add, you can say there was some more time. I hope I'm adding the correct information, but the Guardian Group that's the manager for this grant and to help the county see through, the city see through this, I think they've had work before with the county, and they do this in other counties and other communities, and they have a good reputation for doing this. This may have been an issue here, and we see that we've heard that other people have had problems in this particular go-round. So we just have to, I think that Guardian has come here before and talked to us, and I believe Ms. Candace Savdas is working with them. I really appreciate the, you know, the push that Mr. and Mrs. Hamilton and others are doing to make sure that this type of a job gets done properly. But Guardian has had a reputation for working through these contracts and getting them done in lots of communities. And it's just kind of a little bit disappointing and shocking that we've not only had one, but two or three or several this time around with this issue in Stuart. And we're hoping that we can get this resolved and get it done satisfactorily. I know that they had an issue with their home, the church, with its special specifications and so on. But I'm hoping that we can, whatever we need to do to get it done, I'm hoping that we can work to get it resolved properly.
We don't actually have standing to participate
Yeah,
in any way.
well, just
We
Guardian,
can't-
that we
right.
can make sure that the
Okay.
homeowner and Guardian and Patriot
They-
and
yeah,
work
then
through
they
it.
could pursue a civil action if they thought it was appropriate.
Thank you.
Mr. Chair, as a short-termer, let me just say that I hope this board never again enters a program like this. There is no upside for the city of Stuart. We are, in our attempts to help others, we end up on the short end of the stick. And so I would recommend that we never do anything like this again, because there's just nothing in it for the city of Stuart, because if something goes wrong, we don't control it. We don't pick it. The homeowner is mad at us. Everyone becomes mad at us, so I would recommend that we never do anything like this again.
Thank you. Madam Clerk?
Robert Hamilton.
Robert Hamilton, 1895 Bridge Stewart. Let's not throw the baby out with the bathwater, sir. Mr. Mortel had a little laugh with you guys. It's not so funny from our perspective. I do have in my possession a letter from the governor's office in the state of Florida, and I'm looking at the exact people at the governor's office as a competence, and you have the authority and the ability to resolve this issue. I adamantly disagree with Mr. Mortel. Ms. Gandhi's been working with Olga and I. This has not been a pleasant situation. Some contractors don't want to come. Olga and I are willing to sit down with Ms. Gandhi, Mr. Baguette, and Mr. Hastings. And I'd like to get this resolved. The last thing I'd like to say, the damages are $42,639. That needs to be deducted from the $48,490 that they're billing for. I've never heard of an offer from the city manager. This is the first time I've heard about standing in front of you tonight. Now, I'm not mad at you. I think you all know that. I don't come here to be mad at you. I come here to work a deal. And the deal is I'm looking at the people responsible to deal with the situation. You have the authority and the power. It's all in the documents. Ms. Gandhi knows it. I'm sure Mr. Baguette's going to be brought up to speed. What they did was wrong. But we don't penalize the rest of our community because of some bad apple that came in here. Regardless of their past reputation, I'm aware of it, it was good. But for me and another person who has come to my home, and I'm not going to divulge who they are, but they're from East Stuart, and I think it was terrible looking at that lady sitting inside our church. I felt her pain, and she knew things only people like me and Olga would know on how they operate. She said certain things, they pulled the same crap on that family. Good people. But be that as it may, again, I need to resolve it. I want it resolved. They need to deduct the $42,639 off of the $48,490. And Ms. Gandhi knows we'll be more than happy for Mr. Hastings, myself, to sit down with Mr. Baguette, and maybe Mr. Versa might be there too. I want to thank you all for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Hamilton.
Brandon Cooper.
Hello, Brandon Cooper, 920 Southeast Flamingo Avenue, 34996. Thanks for listening. I'm here to offer support and encourage when the East Stuart Skate Park does come forward to hopefully be on the budget for the city of Stuart, that you guys would approve that. I've been here about over 10 years, family near Guy Davis Park. And we have children of our own. We're also a foster family. Also have a lot of friends and family in the area with kids, teens, and we just know it would be an awesome space for the community. We were at the event at New Birth this weekend, and it was just great. We were at the one last year too, to see just the community come out, like others were saying, just the police, different ages, different backgrounds, just everyone just hanging out, having fun, challenging each other. You know, ramps and everything, delicious JoJo's wings, gotta say. So, you know, and from that, my kids, they got a couple skateboards. They hadn't really skateboarded before. That's all they were talking about the last few days. They're like, they weren't talking about watching Pokemon or whatever. They were just like, Dad, can we go skate? Go skate, go skate. I'm like, all right. So we were going to skate and watching them challenge each other and then overcome, you know, a fear or something and go down a little ramp. And so it was cool to see that, and something that, you know, other, you know, kids in this community can have. It was really inexpensive for us to, well, we got the free boards, but, you know, with the donations, that'll help. But it was, just a good thing for them to have. I think it'd be great for the community. And lastly, I just wanted to mention about Jordan Show. I've known him for many years. We ran all over this town together, literally running. And he's been talking about this skate park for a few years. He's just really, really passionate about it, and I'm excited for it. And it's great to have an ambassador like him behind a project like this, with his family, his connections, his friends, Connection 561, other skaters coming out to help and support. And having FCA and others to come around as mentors is awesome. So when that comes up, just hope that you will support that. So thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I have no more.
No more, okay. Comments by board members, would you like to go first? Board Member Clark?
I'm glad that Commissioner Collins went to the skateboard event this weekend. Didn't get to be there, but it's always good to have representation from our commission at community events, and especially things that we're interested in, so that's good. I really don't have anything to say, but this is a CRA meeting. We're going to be talking about the budget later on, and I just know that, again, if our commissioners don't, or the public don't know about the CRA and what they've done and the things that we go through to get grants and to get things done for various groups in our community, it's so important to make sure that we get that information and get familiar with it and really work to continue seeing some, I guess, great positive results from our CRA activities and the actions that we take. Thank you.
Board Member Collins?
Yes. So just kind of continuing my previous remarks, in talking to Jordan this weekend about the skate park, the conversation came up around the CRA and how we have received about $500,000 to put specifically towards Guy Davis. That park project, who knows exactly what that's going to cost, $8 million, $10 million, $12 million, who knows. But I do see that $500,000 as being functional right now to be able to get that skate park accomplished so that families could start using it now instead of waiting potentially who knows how long, depending on what happens with Brightline and where money ends up landing. I would like to see the skate park specifically be carved out of the overall park project and that we move forward with it now with that $500,000 so that people in our community can start using it. It would be the first skate park in the city of Stuart. And so I don't know, Pinal, exactly how that would work. I know you're going to be bringing it forward, hopefully in the not too distant future.
Yeah, in the next few months.
But I personally, and if there was any consensus, I would like to see it, specifically the skate park, separated and have that $500,000 potentially, if we all agreed, be deployed towards it.
If you get consensus, I can put it on the next city commission meeting for agenda.
Do any of the others have any comments on that then?
I just have a question. That $500,000 is a grant, isn't it, Mike?
Yeah.
And the grant was for what?
Any improvements in the park?
Pardon me?
Any improvements in the
Any
park?
improvements? Okay. I think it's a good idea then.
Okay.
Mayor?
Board Member Giobbe?
Yes, I love the idea of the park. I think it'll be great for the community. I'd like to learn more about the mentoring program because while it's great that everybody could go, I think it's great that the kids would have mentors there. So I'd like to know more about that, but I'm certainly all for it.
Do you have consensus? Yeah, okay.
So it'll be on an agenda item on the next meeting for discussion.
Could I just mention that?
You done with your comments?
Yes, sir.
Oh, yeah. Oh,
All
sorry.
right, Board Member Brickbill, do you have
Yeah.
any comments?
Just two real quick ones. One, I really agree that, I think the more diverse types of activities we have at Guy Davis, the better it is for everybody. And activities like this where the cost of it isn't necessarily going to be a private activity type thing. A private company's not necessarily going to do that type of event. So my comment is, whatever we do out there, I really would like to see us get it done in my lifetime. I'm not that old, but I just had a birthday, so it makes me think about it. And along those same lines, I think I would like to skateboard, but Medicaid tells me that if I have more than 2 falls in a year, I have to have a walker or something. I don't know, so I'm not doing that. But anyway.
They'll specially build one for you.
Board Member Reed, do you have any comments this evening?
I will say, hopefully, there's a positive resolution for the Hamiltons with what they're dealing with that CDBG grant and the contractor that they did use. I'm also going to be reaching out to Pinal and Jordan as well to learn more about the skate park. I wasn't able to make it on Saturday, but I will reach out to Jordan and Pinal to get more information. Thank you.
Board Member Giobbe, do you have any comments?
No, I did already.
Okay.
Thank you.
Board Member Campenny.
I do. Thank you, Mr. Chair. At the last city commission meeting, I was threatened by a commissioner with removal from the CRB and CRA boards because I wrote an opinion piece that was unflattering to the new commission majority. I always thought that as an American, I had the right to express my opinion. It is what is known as free and protected speech. For more than the past decade, I have been writing what was once my constituent newsletter and has now evolved into an online local free publication, which has grown to have an email list of 33,000 people. We also have a Friends and Neighbors Facebook page where we run articles that are written in between editions and then may also appear in the following one. The article referenced at the commission meeting appeared on our Facebook page. Let me just say that Friends and Neighbors is written primarily by me, but we have other contributors. There are over 25 columnists who express their opinions, a nonprofit section that has announcements and press releases, government announcements where our constitutional officers and other government bodies inform the public, letters from the public, reporting on government meetings, and other sections of interest. It is a digital newspaper for our digital age. But besides being a reporter, editor, publisher, and janitor for Friends and Neighbors, I am also a Stuart resident who deeply believes in serving his community by volunteering, donating, and serving on nonprofit boards, as well as being active in local government. I have done this for most of my entire life. I did not expect to be reappointed to the CRB when the reorganization occurs in December. I and the new commission majority obviously do not agree on policy. The new commission majority has the right to have board members who reflect their ideas. Under our charter, they also have the right to dispatch board members at any time. Because you have a right doesn't mean you should exercise it. Expressing criticism of elected officials is my right as a citizen. I intend to do so regardless of whether the new majority removes me in the commission meeting that follows. Trying to curtail criticism of your actions by censoring the messenger makes you look petty and, dare I say, comically tyrannical. The receiver of such treatment becomes a martyr to the cause of good government and the First Amendment. At the last meeting, another commissioner said that he would like to remove one of his inherited appointments because he too was criticized by the appointee on social media. With attitudes like that, we have truly become the People's Republic of Stuart. Perhaps the new majority should take a break from social media and live in the real world for a change. Stuart is not Sim City, and the commissioners are not memes playing a game. Regardless of what actions the commission takes later this evening, I will go on writing and reporting the facts. Since Commissioner Clark first appointed me to the LPA more than a dozen years ago when we were suite mates, and former Commissioner McDonald appointed me to chair Stuart Centennial Committee, it has been a pleasure to be of service to the people of Stuart where I live. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Board Member Campenny. I have no comments this evening at this point. Mr. So let's move on to our first action item, number 2, Southwest Dixie Highway Streetscape Improvements Conceptual Plan. Resolution number 142024. A resolution of the Board of Community Redevelopment Agency of the City of Stuart, Florida, approving conceptual design for Southwest Dixie Highway streetscape improvements from Southwest Joan Jefferson Way to South Colorado Avenue, Southeast Ocean Boulevard, and safety improvements within the Triangle District, providing an effective date and for other purposes. Panal, I believe you have a presentation for us?
Thank you. Panal Gandhi Savdas, CRA Director for the record. This item is coming before you to share the design for the Dixie Highway improvements. The design is from Joan Jefferson Way to Colorado Avenue, and we are looking for your feedback today and approval of the resolution. The project is located within the Triangle District. It's in close proximity to our old downtown district and the Creek District, which is south of the Triangle District. This area will help connect the historic district and the Creek District by making it safer and also making it walkable for our pedestrians to get from one area to another. The project boundary is from Joan Jefferson to Colorado Avenue and runs along the FEC Railway. So this project was initiated back in January 2023 when the City Commission authorized staff to apply for the 2023 FDOT Transportation Alternative Program Grant. And this was authorized by a resolution. Staff later submitted an application to the Martin County MPO Board. The MPO Board accepted the application, and staff presented the project to all the advisory committee and also the MPO Board, and they did recommend approval to submit the project to FDOT. They did express some concerns about the design at that time and requested to come back once all their comments were addressed and incorporated into the project. And we do plan to do that next month. We plan to bring it to MPO Board after the discussion tonight and direction from the board today. Then we did receive a letter from FDOT that the project is eligible for funding for program year 26-27. We expect to receive an estimated of $436,000 for the project. We started meeting with the property owners in September 2023 to share the initial conceptual plan. And then in August 2024, we had an outreach meeting with property owners and business owners and presented a couple of different options for their input. Then in September 2024, we did make a significant change to those conceptuals because of the feedback that we received from the property owners and updated those plans, and that's what you're going to see today for your input. So that was presented to the CRB earlier this month, and we'll present that to you for your input. And then October 2024, like I said, once we have direction from this board, we will present to the MPO Board on the updated plans. You'll notice that from September 2023 to August 2024, we didn't have much activity on this project because there were a lot of moving parts with the tracks and the construction of the second track and how that would impact the design. So we kind of, held tight and waited for those tracks to be completed so then we could figure out how we would amend the design. Again, I do want to emphasize that FDOT has already appropriated funds for this project, so, but the final award amount, we won't know until 26-27. For example, we applied for the TAP grant for the Riverside Park Neighborhood Improvements Project, and at that time, we estimated $1.2 million for that project, and initially FDOT had allocated $590,000 for that project. And then when we went out for bid, the lowest bid that we received for the project was $1.9 million. So the FDOT did increase the award amount to $1.2 million. So I just wanted to let you know that the award amount may be adjusted based on the bid. So $436,000 is not the final number. Again, the FDOT grant has been around since 1991. And over the past 10 years, city has received over $4 million in this grant for various improvement projects through CRA and Public Works Department. So we do have a pretty good track record of following through with our projects that have been awarded the federal grant, and there has never been an instance where the grant was terminated before the funding was provided. So you will see in the budget, the CRA budget, that I did put in $1.5 million in the CIP for fiscal year 2027, because that's when the funding will become available to the city.
Are you done? I'm sorry.
Sorry. So as part of the application, we also have to become lab certified to administer this grant. In the past, Martin County administered this grant for us since they're lab certified. But due to lack of resources on their end, they did ask the city to administer their own TAP grants. So we are pursuing our own project-specific lab certification so we could administer the grant. As a project manager, I've already completed the lab certification, and I know there are other city staff, Kevin Smith and other city staff, that are pursuing their certification so that we can manage the grant from design to construction. Based on direction today from the board, we do have a kickoff meeting with FDOT in January 2025 to start working on the civil plans for the project. The initial plans are due to FDOT in 2025, and also the project-specific lab certification documentations will be due next year. The final construction plans are due in 2026, and construction is anticipated in early 2027.
Does Mr. Capra?
I'm sorry?
I keep I'm sorry. Does Mr. Are you done?
No.
Okay.
So these exhibits here show the existing condition on Dixie Highway. I know we're short on time. So currently we do have significant portions of missing sidewalk. If you walk this area, you know it's not safe to walk there. The sidewalks are not clearly defined. On the west side of Dixie Highway, we have crosswalks missing. We do have FEC. We do have on-street parking in the FEC right-of-way. The city has a lease agreement with FEC for those on-street parking. There's very little sidewalk adjacent to FEC Railway, so there's very little landing space for passengers to get out of their car, and also for the drivers to get out of their car, making it very unsafe to get out with the oncoming traffic on Dixie Highway. And this is just showing the existing conditions. The existing typical section of Dixie Highway is we have 11-foot travel lanes in both direction, parking in FEC right-of-way, and sidewalk in the city's right-of-way that varies from 5 to 6 feet. As you may note, that a portion, about 2 feet of our northbound travel lane is in the FEC right-of-way. So we do need to note that in case if the FEC decides to terminate the lease agreement, we do have our 2 feet of our travel lane in their right-of-way that we will have to adjust the road in the future should that happen. But this project will take care of that. So we do have multiple studies that recommend that reducing travel lanes to provide adequate sidewalks on both sides of the road. So in March 2023, we decided that we were going to submit an application to FEC to amend the lease agreement so we can put in the sidewalk on the FEC, by the FEC Railway. We can do that by reducing the travel lane widths to 10 feet, reducing on-street parking width, and adding new sidewalks. Although we did submit an application to FEC to amend the lease agreement, there was a lot of uncertainties as to what we can do and can't do in the FEC right-of-way. There were also concerns that they were going to ask us to remove the on-street parking completely, since Brightline was adding the second track, and they need at least 25 feet clearance from the second track for safety zone. So with limited cities right-of-way, we started looking at other options, which we presented to the community with one-way traffic and changing the traffic pattern and accommodating any lost parking that's in the FEC right-of-way. But we did not get the support from the community, so we did end up making modifications to the design that was presented. We did hear back from FEC last month, and they said that they don't want us to make any modifications to the leased area because of the future new Brightline station, which could further modify the tracks. So the earlier options that were presented to the property owners. Like I said, we didn't get the consensus, so we are keeping with the two-way traffic along Dixie, and all the improvements will be in the city's right-of-way. I'll let Joe Capra, who is the engineer on the project, he's with CapTech, walk us through the updated plans for the project.
Good evening, board members. I'm Joe Capra with CapTech Engineering. Sounds like you're kind of in a hurry, so I'm going to make this real quick, okay?
Oh, no,
Essentially,
it's fine, Mr. Capra. Take your time.
So just, as you know, this is the Confusion Corner area. This is pretty much the circle at Joan Jefferson Way here. Essentially, what we're proposing, we've done this a couple times now, trying to accommodate the FEC's future conditions potentially, and then also to just kind of make sure we kind of looked at the funding we have. So essentially, what we're proposing is still remaining two-way traffic. We had talked about maybe one-way traffic for some safety reasons, but basically the business owners and everybody here preferred that we keep with the current pattern of traffic. So this is going to be a two-way street, just like it is today. Basically, what you're going to see for safety improvements here, basically pedestrians can walk it on a sidewalk. There'll be a continuous sidewalk. Basically, that would be the south side of the right-of-way. Essentially, what you should know, there'll be ADA improvements in there to make sure that the sidewalk is continuous. Also, we propose street lighting out here, so there'll be street lights that be put in place. We also planned on as much landscaping as we can get, but I'll be truthfully honest with you, there's not a lot of land that we control in here that we can put a lot of landscaping, but we will put some trees in there. The other thing is, we're looking at crosswalks crossing these streets. This plan may look like we're doing a lot of pavers, but the fact of the matter is we are doing pavers in this area here and some of the crosswalks, but most of the sidewalks in here will be painted or stained the coral color that you see throughout downtown. So we are just staining what's out there, but we are going to make sure the sidewalk doesn't have tripping hazards like it does currently have. Just to make sure we kind of cover a couple things, we are proposing a rather large area of pavers here. Those pavers would be similar to what we've used throughout the community. They will be pervious pavers. The benefit of pervious pavers, of course, is when, as you see settlement sometimes in asphalt and so forth, these will dry out. So whenever I get into a pedestrian area, which we're trying to create a pedestrian area here, I like to make it so that we don't have people walking in puddles. And so that's an advantage to the pervious pavers. I know there's some concern about pavers. I will tell you, I've been doing pavers for a long time. We did the paver crosswalks in downtown Osceola Street. They've been there for over 30 years. They work fine. However, I will tell you, when a paver system area fails, guess what? You continue to have problems with it. And we ran into that on certain projects too. But for the most part, when installed properly, those pavers will work fine. They do increase the cost in the area of this area here. We hope to gain out of the paver area a couple things, but one thing is stormwater. One of the things that is happening here, we are providing a stormwater system of underground storage here. If you look at the next few pictures, you're going to see ponding of water and so forth. We will be getting rid of that, and water will be underground and so forth. But also, the pavers will provide storage. Let's see, what else we got? Basically, we're going to lose those parking, potentially lose those parking, maybe about 24 spaces. We were trying to make it up throughout the neighborhood with restriping some of the parking that is out there. We will be providing some parking right here on 3rd Street. Again, most everything else is safety. I think I kind of covered most everything. You know, just I know the pavers was concerned by some folks. We are trying to put a radius into this so people don't kind of shortcut through the Joan Jefferson Way circle here. We are not doing any adjustments here other than pavers, so the Confusion Corner in this location will work just like it does now. So we didn't make any changes to that. Most everybody will retain the driveway entrances they have to their businesses. We are not getting rid of that. We may narrow some down with permission from the property owners. I know these folks are here tonight. They'll tell you their concerns and so forth, but essentially they will retain the driveway entrances that they have according to the current plan. With that, again, I'll be happy to entertain any questions.
Mr. Board Member Campani, you've sat through this presentation before.
Yes. Yes, I've sat through many of these
Yes.
type of presentations before.
Do you have any questions or comments?
I don't. I think this is one of the best things I've seen. You're absolutely right, Joe. We got to take the water off that street because it doesn't take much, just a little shower, and we have that street flooded and the property's flooded. So yes, that's a good thing. I'm sorry we're losing some parking spaces, but I don't know what we can do about that either. So I would support this.
You got a motion?
Can we get a motion? and
No, I'll make that motion if we're ready for motions.
Second.
I got a question for Joe relative to that.
Okay, we have a motion by Board Member Campenny, a second by Board Member Clark. Is there any discussion? Member Breckville.
I had some concerns about the traffic coming across on Joan Jefferson from downtown and the fact that those cars are stuck on the tracks. Have we factored anything into here to stop that? Because right now, the way it works is that traffic going, heading north or whatever direction it is in downtown, is got the right-of-way, and people coming over the tracks, they're on the tracks before they realize they have to stop. And there's less than 6 feet, I think, probably, that they can actually stop on that side of the tracks. We have to have some sort of a signal, some sort of to stop that traffic when the train is coming so that we don't have cars stuck on the track, because that's going to be a problem, I think.
And you brought that up before, but basically, we will be providing signage with blinkers on it so people can know that. The other thing that I figured that we probably need to start thinking about, and it's not only at Joan Jefferson, it's also at Confusion Corner, is a little more room for people when they do get stuck in that position. There's a wider area so they can get out of the area where they're confined. So I've noted that, and we have been working with the manager's office to try to look at some other safety features at the crossing.
Okay.
I'm actually going to go to public comment. Mary, do we have? So let's hear from the public first, and then we can have our discussion.
Can I just clarify one thing? Okay. So you did say you're looking at signalizing that right there?
Well, they're not I wouldn't want to call them signals. They're signs with flashing signs that tell people about the safety
It's
issues.
similar to what we have throughout the city on Cannon Road, right? On Palm City Road.
That's right.
Yeah.
Okay. So there'll be something like that, but it won't be the same thing, okay?
Madam Clerk?
We'll be looking at some signage.
Joe, we'll probably have you back, but let's hear from the public first.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, I have Bernadette Lindell.
Good afternoon, Bernadette Lindell, 11 Southwest Ocean Boulevard. We are actually the owners of the building that's on the corner of West Ocean and Dixie Highway in Camden, the triangular-shaped building on the corner. And I just wanted to let you know that we are very much in favor of the final design and construction plans as recommended by the board. It will make a much-needed major improvement to our neighborhood, and we fully support the project and hope that we can move forward to the next phase. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Frank McChrystal.
I won't rant. I'll get right to the point and lay off the philosophical stuff, I guess. I'll save that for later. But contrary to the previous commission's belief, fanatical belief, not every street in Stuart can be a multimodal pathway that serves all. This is the poster child for the worst idea I've seen on this topic. A1A and US 1 are literally the only north-south corridors for the working man and woman in Martin County. There are no pavers that will hold up to the traffic of that road. It is a big waste of money. And please don't do anything to make the traffic lanes for cars any less narrow. They're already narrow. So there you go. If you're going to use pavers, how about if we have the, prove me wrong. Have the contractor guarantee him for at least 10 years, okay? But common sense says you don't use pavers on a road that's going to be traveled this much. And please, don't make it any more narrow for the car drivers either. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. McChrystal.
I have no more public comment, Mayor.
Okay.
I have a question.
Yes?
Joe? The reason that it's being narrowed is because it's not all our right-of-ways. Am I correct with that?
Correct. Correct. Basically, what we have out there is about 20 feet, okay, of actually right-of-way that we own, okay? And I'm not saying the whole right-of-way, I'm just saying in the narrowest location. If you remember where the Verizon building is, it's a pinkish colored building, that's really narrow there. And we will be using 5 feet of their property for a sidewalk, okay? So that's why we have two 10-foot lanes. Now, we can widen it out in other areas, but that's the narrowest part that we have. I'm trying to avoid getting right-of-way. A lot of times, acquiring right-of-way in these TAP type of grants can kind of kill a project, so we're trying to avoid that. So that's our problem. That's where our problem is.
Any other questions or comments from Board Member Clark?
Okay, thank you. So this is a conceptual plan, and what I'm most impressed about is the work that went into this when we had community walks and various group meetings to have people walk the community and to give input. I know that the people at the church have given a lot of input in this area, and I just know that there's going to be redevelopment and changes in this area, and this is probably going to be a start to making sure that this area is safe and that the road serves its purpose in a compact area. And I just think that this is something good that we need to continue to work on. It is difficult because it's a short stretch and it's a vital stretch, and it's going to serve a lot of the changes that are, there are a lot of empty buildings along that road now, plus the church is going to have a change in use. But that triangle area, it is a start to work in the plan that we've been working on for some years now in the triangle area. And did we make a motion already?
Yeah, you made it.
Okay, we're working on a motion. So we're just commenting on a motion.
It's still in
Okay,
effect.
okay, that's fine.
There is a second.
Are you done?
Mayor Rich, may I?
Mr. Capra, could you come back up here?
Oh, Mr.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Commissioner Reed had some comments.
Board Member,
Yeah, I had
Board Member
some.
Reed?
I had some comments. I did speak to Panal about this. I let her know that I wasn't in favor of pavers or narrowing of the road. I know there's some marine industry people here. Boats heavily travel through here with trailers, and it's difficult as it is. Dixie Highway will always be traveled north and southbound for traffic. There's about 10,000 vehicles that travel through here. And I believe, is the goal to slow traffic and deter vehicles from traveling through this section with safety improvements for more pedestrian walkway? That would be for staff.
Yes, the narrow lane will help to address the safety concerns and reduce the speed. But again, it really comes down to our right-of-way. We have very limited right-of-way. So if we decide to keep 11 feet and then keep it in the FEC right-of-way, we're concerned that if the lease agreement terminates, then we're going to have to readjust the road at some point. So we're trying to address all of that with this project.
And that parking would still be in the FEC right-of-way, so it'd still need addressed down the road?
We will keep that until we get other further information from FEC.
But none of the 10, so if we had two 10-foot lanes, that wouldn't be an FEC right-of-way at all?
No, correct.
And how wide would the sidewalk be on the south side?
So I'm going to pull that up so you can see
It's 5-footed.
right here. So it would be 5 feet of existing sidewalk. You can see the proposed 10 feet of travel lane northbound and southbound, and the rest is FEC easement.
So we end up having a wider street until FEC picks us up. Okay. So, but I didn't want to go and set this up where that, you know, later on, we're going to have to reconstruct it. So you're going to still have a little more room on this side until they kick us off the right of, that's all.
And what is the notice on the FEC lease?
Well, I think you
Right now, they just said that we couldn't make any sorry.
You want to come up and,
they're going to they will let us overlay the parking area, but they won't let us add to that area.
So all of the right-of-way leases for the Florida East Coast Rail are a 30-day termination. However, historically, they have never exercised a 30-day termination. What we'd expect in this particular circumstance is at some point they will, those parking spaces are within a 25-foot zone of train cars, and they have a policy that you're not allowed to have any people or cars where people might be sitting in them within that zone of the 25 feet. So at some point in the future, they're going to say to us, hey, that's within that 25 feet, you need to move those parking spaces out of there. They've been here for some time. They didn't identify it within that 25 feet until about a year and a half ago. They brought it up. They haven't told us to get out yet. It may be that they changed the policy to 15 feet or something, I don't know, but so far, we're kind of going on borrowed time. I mean, my recommendation would be no matter what, if you're going to make improvements to the road, to follow Mr. Capra's advice and make sure that you make the improvements within the road. You're going to leave those parking spaces, that's fine, because if in fact they were to come in and tell us to remove the parking spaces, we could just go in and sod that and be out of there in 2 seconds flat. But if you kept them at the 11 feet and you actually had to come back in and get 12 inches of the road out of the right-of-way, along with the stormwater or whatever management is going to be taking place with these permeable pavers or with these pavers, it could get complicated really fast. You'd have to come back and do the whole thing over again, and therefore none of this would be worth doing at all. So if you're going to move forward on it, it'd be better to anticipate staying in our right-of-way and then keeping those parking spaces as long as possible.
Okay, so I'm a little confused in either Mr. Capper or Pernell. I think the drawing said 11 feet for the street width, but
That's existing.
you said 10. It's going to be 10. Yeah,
That's the proposed.
right, okay,
And on the
that's good.
top is the existing.
Yeah, narrowing the streets is going to slow people down, and that's what we want.
Yes, yes.
That'll constitute.
Right, so, I mean, I like this. This is obviously neglected to a degree. It's, or what's a better way to put this? We haven't created as much opportunity over in this part of town as we could. I know, Pinal, this has been a focus for you, and this is a very good start on it. So many of our cities are designed for cars and not for people, and we actually can accomplish both, and this is a good way to do that. The 5-foot sidewalk, that's very important. I hope we can maintain that width, and, because that's going to allow us to put a lot of nice shade trees in, and that's what's going to attract people, right? If they see all these beautiful shade trees over there, they'll come from our downtown now and walk over there. If we look at that one picture, I think the lady says she owns it. Where is it? Why isn't it moving? All right, so it froze. Where's the one?
Before and after?
Yeah, that's it. So they're coming out, what street is that? I can't see that. So they're coming up here. So,
That's Ocean.
so I live on Flamingo. So when I come off of Ocean and go down Flamingo, Old St. Lucie, it's not perpendicular, it's actually a little angle, and that is dangerous and difficult to look to your left. So can't we square that off to a greater degree? That would be my concern as you're getting onto Ocean there. it seems like a very acute angle for people to look. I don't know if there's a stop sign in front of that pedestrian there, but the stop sign seems to be, you see what I'm saying?
Yeah, so basically, vehicles are going northbound here.
Right.
And they typically go to the left if they decide they want to go to US 1. Okay, or they can continue north and go to the circle, go to US 1, or keep going north, Dixie.
Okay.
So this movement's okay. When they come here, coming southbound, they will have the ability to go to the right and left. They can go either way. So, but the majority of the cars that I think you're going to see come through here, you're looking northbound here on Dixie.
Right. No, I realize that, yeah. But just so we can tee those intersections off to as great a degree as possible.
And we have tried to do that. There is a T here, and this property here will be redeveloped, as you know. You can see from the rendering. But you're right, it will be teed up. What you don't see pretty well on this drawing is there's an alley right there. And basically the garbage trucks come through this way, or come from south to north and this way. So we have kind of something that's a little different at this location with the garbage trucks and the vehicles, because it's an alley, and there's these businesses don't have a lot of places to park, so they use that alley also.
So the effort here is to increase walkability, and the drawings I saw, you seem to have parking spaces almost right up to those crosswalks, and it was my understanding you have to be, as I drive a sedan that's very low, which my wife constantly reminds me of, you know, if there's a big SUV or a big pickup truck parked really close to that crosswalk, it's very hard, it can be very difficult to see those pedestrians. So don't you have to be back 20 feet? Isn't that the FDOT
No,
requirement?
they're usually 4 feet. Usually you stop 4 feet before the crosswalk. That's
No, but the parking space, you can't put a
You want to be able to see around the parking space is what I think you're getting at, right? You want to be able to come up to this intersection and not have a parking stall right there where you can't see this way.
Right. It just seems we're awfully close to those crosswalks, but
Yeah, like I said, we don't have a lot of parking that come right up to the Dixie Highway.
because like you say, you're trying to get more parking in there to replace, right?
So we have found ways to get some more parking in these areas here with restriping the parking stalls we have. And we are getting some parking, you're right, in this right here. But as you know, you're coming up an alley here, so there's no parking right in here.
Right.
Back in here, you're getting parking.
Now, does this plan include one-way, a number of streets?
No.
Okay,
We got away from the one-way.
yeah,
It wasn't liked by the people in the area, so we
right.
decided.
No, one-way is turning out to be not such a good idea.
That's right.
It creates a lot of problems. Oh, good. Well, then, I'm very happy with this project, and I look forward to its success. No other comments? I think we can take a vote.
Yes. Board Member Brickbill?
Yay.
Board Member Reed?
No.
Board Member Giobbe?
No.
Board Member Collins?
Yes.
Board Member Clark?
Yes.
Board Chair Rich?
Yes?
And Board Member Campenny?
Yes.
And the results of that, I'm sorry, Mr. Becker?
5-2.
5-2 in favor. Resolution passes. Next item. Do you want to read this, Mr. Baggett, or?
For the record, City Attorney Lee Baggett. This is Resolution Number 11-2024 CRA, a resolution of the Board of the Community Redevelopment Agency of the City of Stuart, Florida, adopting the CRA budget of the City of Stuart, Florida for fiscal year beginning October 1st, 2024 and ending September 30th, 2025, and appropriating capital budget for fiscal year 2025 and providing for a 5-year capital improvement plan for projects within the community redevelopment area boundaries, providing an effective date and for other purposes.
I can make the presentation. Thank you again. So per Florida statutes, we are required to adopt the CRA budget by a resolution and also the 5-year capital improvement plan to assist the board with managing CRA funds, project implementation, and any future projects. The funds received from the CRA area must be used for specific redevelopment purposes within the target area, and it cannot be used for general government purposes. So the city's taxable value and its millage, along with the county's millage, is what is contributed to the tax increment financing in the CRA's trust fund. So the CRA's original base value is $299 million, and the current taxable value for the city is $883 million. As Jolie had mentioned in his presentation earlier this month, that the taxable value for the city and the county is different because of the certain, county has certain exemptions that the city doesn't have. So this brings us to about $584 million in increment value. And then if you apply the 5.0 millage rate, the city's 5.0 millage rate, that equates to about $2.7 million from the city's general funds. And the county payment to the CRA is $3.5 million, for total TIF financing is $6.3 million to the CRA trust fund. This chart here shows a breakdown of all the CRA revenues from the different sources for fiscal year 2025. As I mentioned in my previous slide, the county's TIF contribution to the city CRA is $3.5 million, and the city's contribution from general fund is $2.7 million. Additionally, we have other sources of revenue, including the grants in the amount of $5.1 million. CRA has a fund balance of $12.2 million for projects such as downtown undergrounding of overhead utilities, Seminole Streetscape, that the CRA has been reserving funds for over the years, and the Guy Davis Park improvements. We have an interest revenue of $75,000, and the wayfinding signage program also brings in a revenue of about $2,700. So that brings us to a total of $23.8 in CRA revenue for fiscal year 2025. And of that, a total of $19.7 million is budgeted for operating expenses, programs, and projects in fiscal year 2025. The remaining balance will be transferred to the fund balance. The CRA does have the responsibility to budget and appropriate TIF funds for capital improvement projects, and within the CRA boundaries. We've appropriated funds for capital projects in the CIP within the CRA boundaries. Here are some of the projects. The downtown undergrounding project includes undergrounding on Osceola, Seminole, St. Lucie Avenue, and Colorado Avenue. This is the heart of our community. This project does not only do aesthetic enhancements, but we also improve the reliability, safety. We preserve the historic fabric of our downtown by eliminating threat of falling poles, downed wires, causing electric fires, or natural disasters. Staff also feels that it's important to underground this specific area because we're pursuing the designation of our core downtown on the National Register of Historic Places. So it's really important to protect these historic buildings that have a historical significance, and this will be a huge honor for our city to be listed on the National Register. So staff feels that this is one of those areas that we do want to protect our historic buildings, and going underground will help us achieve that. This year has been working on this undergrounding project since 2019. From feasibility study to designing to going out for bid multiple times. Because this is a large-scale project, the CRA have been reserving funds over the years to support the funding for this project. Just recently, we contracted with Burkhart to provide the guaranteed maximum price for the improvements. The bids came in last Friday, so we expect to provide the final numbers to the board at the upcoming joint meeting in October and get direction from the board at that time. But for the budget purposes, I am reserving funds so that way, once we get direction from the board, we have funding already appropriate for these projects. Another project that's kind of tied in with the undergrounding is improvements to Seminole Streetscape. Seminole Street from St. Lucie Avenue to Colorado. This project is estimated at $1.2 million based on the engineer's cost estimate. We received about $274,000 in water quality grant for the stormwater improvements for this project. And also Sailfish Cove Development, they contributed about $80,000 for improvements adjacent to their property as part of the streetscape improvements. So we already have a total of $350,000 that would go towards the streetscape improvements. This project was also included in the Burkhart contract, so we'll get the guaranteed maximum price for the streetscape component that will be presented to the board at the joint meeting in October. The next project is the project LIFT. We received $6.291 million in CDBG COVID funding for acquisition and new construction of a new facility on the Willie Gary property to serve as a job training center. This is a reimbursement grant, so the CRA does have to budget for the expenses up front and request reimbursement. We're budgeting $4.3 million in fiscal year 2025 to finish out the project. We already acquired the property, so we already submitted reimbursement for the acquisition and received the reimbursement from the state for $1.6 million. And it was brought to my attention that one of the board members was concerned about the cost for the engineering to design the project. And typically with the city's procurement, we expect about 10 to 12% of the construction cost. So this is actually below that threshold. This cost, the $250,000, did include field survey, geotechnical services, civil plans, and building plans. So we're going to be bringing forward the rezoning application for second round of review to the CRB, LPA, and City Commission in October. There were some concerns about the rezoning of the application, so we're going to come back and we're going to keep the CPUD and get direction from the board in October. So hopefully with everyone's approval, we anticipate to go out for bid for this project in November and start construction in early 2025 and complete construction by early 2026. The next project is the Guy Davis Community Park project. CR has been working on this project since 2019, and there was some work done even before me through the Community Services Department. Currently, we're at 60% design for the project. We're into the final stretch of the project. We expect to get the final community input by the end of this year. We plan to present to the neighborhood and then bring it to the board with the final cost of the project in early 2025. The project is budgeted at $7 million for the upcoming fiscal year. And as discussed earlier, we received $500,000 of state appropriation for the construction of the project. So a total of $7 million is budgeted in the CIP for this project. And we anticipate about 18 months to complete the construction with hopefully the opening to the public in fall 2026.
If we take the $500,000 out of that, then where do you get the money to continue with the design?
This is for the construction, and it's in the budget.
I understand, but that you don't have in your budget now the skate park.
Not the skate park, right?
Well, that $500,000 is probably going to be allocated towards the state skate park.
Right, so then it would be $6.5 million for the actual other components.
So you're going to cut what you were going to spend to $6.5 million. $6.5 million. Is that what you're saying?
Right, for the original scope of the work. The skate park actually came from the outreach meeting, and that was never part of the project. So
Currently,
if
the
staff,
budget is, this is the current budget being presented to the board. Until we bring back that skate park and have that discussion, we can always do an amendment to the budget.
Yeah, I know you will be doing an amendment, but you still need money for design.
Correct, yeah. The design was not included in the original scope. Okay, next, we already heard about the Dixie Highway project. That's in the budget for fiscal year 2027. MLK Streetscape project, that's also in the works, and it's in the budget for 2027. We're currently working on the design, and we plan to apply for grants for this project. And staff is requesting approval of resolution number 11-2024, adopting the CRA budget for fiscal year 2025 and the CIP plan.
Move
Move
approval.
approval. Second.
We have a motion for approval by Board Member Collins, a second by Board Member Clark. Is there any public comment, Madam Clerk?
I do not.
Frank.
Again, Commissioners, good afternoon. Over the past few years, I'm still wrestling with the idea of the CRA. I've asked to be explained to from a 30,000 feet point of view, from a Forrest Gump, 6th grade Trump genius point of view, to answer this one question. How does all of this spending, for instance, $11 to $14 million on one street in Stuart, how does all this spending benefit the average taxpayer, say lives in my neighborhood, whose roads haven't been repaved in over 70 years, a place where I used to drink the water, but I don't drink the water anymore because you don't know when you're going to get a gallon full of chlorine. And from a public service point of view, I've talked to Chief Tuminelli. There's just nothing in the budget to have the traffic enforcement where we need it, especially between the bridge from Sewell's Point and Monterey Road, where people are just passing through. It used to be 45, 55, 65. Now they're doing 75 miles an hour. So, my question is, how does all this benefit the average taxpayer? Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. McChrystal. Board members, any questions or comments
Yeah,
regarding this item? Board
I-
Member Breckbell.
Yes, I had one comment. I think that, and maybe it's somewhat along the line of what Mr. McChrystal was talking about, but, we don't, I think we need to do a better job when these projects are brought to us of defining what kind of increase in value in the CRA we expect to get out of that. I mean, that's the advantage of a CRA, is we're freezing the property values, and anything that we appreciate above that, we get an advantage of it. We get to keep more of those dollars. And so I think that any project, I mean, all of these are great projects, but I think when we're trying to make decisions, I think that we should see what the expected result is over what time frame, so that we can see, is this a project that's going to generate no real benefit to us? It's just a cost, or is it going to generate a long-term benefit to us or a short-term benefit to us that we're going to get to keep the benefit of that? And that's, I mean, to me, that's the sole purpose of a CRA is to take advantage of that. Okay, just comment.
Mayor Rich.
Board Member Reed.
Thank you. This was for Pinal. Are you able to go back to the slide where you had Project Lift, where it was broken down by each fiscal year for the civil engineering work? And so if I'm understanding this right, it's the engineering and the appraisals for fiscal year 24 and 25. That's about $670,000 just for this particular project. That doesn't include demolition. So that's turnkey site plans to get you through permitting for $670,000.
Right, so the engineering is about $250,000. Once we go into construction, to manage the construction, that's $40,000. That would be in fiscal year 2025. The $30,700 is for the appraisals, and then the $352,000 is all the development fees, building fees, impact fees. So all of that is lumped together.
This is also not an expenditure, this is a budget. The idea here is generally, as the CRA director pointed out earlier, is it's a common business practice that 10% of the project cost is set aside for design in the budgeting process. If it comes out at less than 10%, then that's a bonus. But in 22 and 23, we were seeing every single project coming in at double the budgeting process, not half. And as a result, if we budgeted these at lower numbers and then got to the point where we were going forward and didn't have the money to go forward at all, we'd be at a complete standstill. It's better to over budget, have it come in less. But when you have procurement regulations and CNNA or CCNA, the architect and engineering statute that requires us to guaranteed competitive bidding, it simply puts you in a position that these are the standard rates. And so if we don't budget it, we run into a much bigger problem. Like I said, if you guys find someone that'll do it for half, that's great. We can have all the money left over at the end. But the concern on our part is always to try to budget it within the perspective of being able to finish it. Because what happens if we don't is when we get the project goes forward and there's only a third of the funding there, you're dead in the water.
I understand. Thanks, Mike. I'll get with you on the procurement process to understand it more too. Thanks.
Board Member Giobi?
No, I have no comments.
Board Member Clark? No?
Now we're going to vote.
Mr. Chair, I just want to make a comment, if you
Yes.
don't mind. Now that I am a short-termer, I just want to say, I think sometimes in this CRA, there is 3 or 4 projects for our East Stewart community. We shouldn't forget that the only way these projects are going to be done is through the CRA. So, I'm going to say I think it's critically important that we remember to use the funds where they are needed most. And a lot of the funds are needed most in our East Stewart community. That's all.
Any other questions or comments?
Excuse me, Chair, I do have one more public comment that was turned in.
Okay.
Carla Williamson.
I'm actually here for something else today, so I'm so glad that I get to be here. My name is Carla Williamson. I actually live at 825 Southeast 13th Street, so I back onto Guy Davis Park. I also back on Street ends, essentially, where the Guy Davis Park development project will go through. And one of the things when I first bought our house, it's going into 4 years now, in October, was that I noticed that a lot of the area wasn't maintained. Grass was overgrowing, and I have 2 young children and another one on the way. And I did notice as well, like a lot of cop cars coming through, pulling up people who were just standing there. And so one of the things I'm from Australia, I've also lived in Seattle and different places in America, but I'm calling Stuart home. And one of the things I did notice that was we really needed something there. It was such a beautiful space that needed to be used. And this is a wonderful opportunity for the neighborhood, and I think it would make it so much safer and somewhere where my kids could walk down the street, which I don't feel very safe. Like, there are cars flying down the roads here, so I think it would be a wonderful place for not just my street, but all of East Stewart, a wonderful place to call home and enjoy the beautiful outdoors of Stuart has. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you. Panal, we're anticipating CRA revenue for fiscal year 25 of 6.3 million, correct?
Correct.
And what was it for fiscal year 24?
About 5.7.
5.1?
I don't have the exact number, but it's typically about 22% that 5.3.
5.3, so that's a
Yeah.
pretty significant
Yeah, it's usually 20 to 25% increase
there.
every year.
There's a good opportunity there for you, Mr. Breckbill, to figure out why it went up so much. I know monies are allocated in the CRA, but what is the approximate balance in there right now, Panal?
So if this budget gets approved, like I said, $3 million will go in the fund balance, and we have about $1 million right now, so we would have $4 million in fund balance. Once $19 million is appropriated for the projects that are identified in the fiscal year 2025 budget. Plus, once we do the audit for fiscal year 2024 budget, there could be some funds that could go into the fund balance. So you're looking about $4 to $5 million in fund balance, besides what's going to get approved today.
That's unallocated funds or?
Unallocated funds.
But
Fund balance is your reserve, your savings account.
But even including allocated funds, how much is?
The allocated funds is, so total fund revenue is in fiscal year 2025 is $23 million, but $3 million of that is going to go in the fund balance.
Yeah.
Right. And so
So
then we
with
already
the-
have $1 million right now.
So with the revenue from fiscal year '25, we're looking at $30 million.
Correct. If we look at
Allocated
add
it.
up everything,
Right.
yes.
So I just think that's an important number for all of us to keep in mind when making decisions regarding the use of CRA funds. I have no other questions for you. Thank you, Pinal. We can go to a vote.
Motion to approve the budget as.
I think we already did.
Who did
We
that?
do have a
I was sleeping through that part.
You're on it.
Sorry. Good job. Just nudge me every now and then, and I'll just stop snoring and.
Roll
and pay
call, please,
attention.
Madam Clerk.
Board Member Giobbe?
Yes.
Board Member Clark?
Yes.
Board Member Campenny?
Yes.
Board Member Breckbill?
Yes.
Board Member Reed?
Yes.
Board Member Collins?
Yes.
And Chair Rich.
Yes. Wow, unanimous. Resolution passes. It's late. There's one additional item. Do we need to take this up?
Carried over.
Let's roll it. There's so many people waiting. Yeah, can we get a motion to continue
moved.
item 4?
Second.
Second, all in favor? Aye. Seeing no other items for consideration, this meeting is adjourned. We will adjourn